Often when you speak about neurobiology, you say, we study the brain, and the brain is implicitly thought of as being the human brain. I tend to have a broader view of what the brain is.
Gilles Laurent is a neuroscientist and co-director of the Max Planck Institute for Brain Research in Frankfurt. Like other scientists who work here, Gilles Laurent is interested in how the brain works at the molecular level, but above all, and that's what sets him apart, in how it has evolved across all living beings.
It's an organ that exists in all metazoans, or most of them, that has a long evolutionary history of about 700 million years. That is the result of divergence through evolution and functional convergence. And so my understanding of the brain and what interests me about it is the results of these two processes, one that tends to separate the evolution of individual designs, and another, convergence, that tends to bring things back, the solutions back to something common.
The brain is a marvel of complexity and creativity that has constantly evolved over time. It still raises countless questions for researchers who know that it is far from having revealed all its secrets.
I think one big question at this point in time is to understand how the brain functions in complex behaviors and how maybe the brain as a whole, rather than individual brain areas, function, but also then looking at how individual brain areas maybe perform one particular function or not, and how we can bridge the gap from behavior to brain regions and neural circuits to individual cell types down to what happens within the cells.
In the hope of one day understanding human behavior, Gilles Laurent has chosen not to focus solely on the human brain. He has always been fascinated by the inventiveness of animal species and how their nervous system works.
There is the stuff that we don't think about, which enables us to live and survive and deal with the complexity of the world, interpret an image, sound, etc., which is basically what our brain does most of the time, which has commonalities, of course, across humans and all other species. An insect has to find its way and smell and see and hear and interpret its environment so as to adapt its behavior. And all of these functions are very similar to the ones that our brains solve. The solutions that are found will have things that are similar and things that are different.
To explore these similarities and differences, Gilles Laurent has decided to study some unusual animals, quite uncommon in the context of a fundamental research lab. His team is specifically seeking to understand how the cuttlefish, a master of camouflage, interprets an image before reproducing it on its skin.
And what we're seeing here is activity recorded in the optic lobe, which is the largest lobe in their brain. And this is receiving direct input from the eye and transforming this information into motor commands to generate the kind of patterns that we're seeing the animal do right now.
There are fundamental principles that are shared across all brains. They have to solve a lot of the same problems. So in the instance of cuttlefish and looking at camouflage, they need to take in visual information from their environment and then decide how to act based on that visual information. Just by filming their backs, we can understand so much about all these decisions that they're making.
You have on the skin of the animal an image that represents its internal representation of its perception of the world. That's unique.
Cephalopods, insects, mammals and reptiles are studied here for their unique behaviour and relative simplicity. This Australian lizard has caught the attention of Gilles Laurent's team for some of its sleep behaviours, but not only that.
In this particular research here, we're trying to find a way to communicate with the lizards. We can ask them questions, and that is by showing to them items on a computer screen. And that's a very valuable tool when you want to understand how the brain drives behaviors, drives the output of the brain. And I think that's a super exciting time to do neuroscience and combine neuroscience with evolutionary biology, with behavior, with genetics, developmental biology. So Gilles was one of the first people to really find ways to look at this collective of neurons in the brain and really advance this field that we call neural dynamics.
The way he approaches science is not to care so much about fashion or what people think is important, but really follow your own taste and curiosity. You're doing neuroscience, which is not that special, but we're just, I think, approaching certain questions from a different angle by using unconventional systems. But I think the questions we pursue and we're asking is actually, I hope at least, things that people are generally interested in.
If we want to make progress, one needs to be bold in their experimental direction. One needs to really try something that's perhaps high risk or very unconventional. And I think that these types of risk takers, these type of individuals who really push the envelope, they have really moved the field forward.
I don't like to do things that everybody else does. The fact that you can come to the lab every day and think that today you'll do something that has never been done before, have conversations that have never been had before, to find solutions that nobody has yet, is so fantastic. It's just amazing to think that you're being paid doing this stuff.